This is Sean.
My son's name is Ryan. But Mr. Eric, he, since he's such a fan of myself, he named his son after me. So thank you, Eric.
My wife is an O'Brien. That's why my boys are named Sean and Ethan.
All right, Harish, over to you, sir.
Amazing. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the third workshop in the Build with Astra DB series. I'm Harish. We have Asta, Bala, Sean, and Eric, the organizer team of this hackathon, today on the call with us. And what are we going to do in this workshop? So I'm going to give you a quick intro of what this hackathon is about and what you can build. And then we'll quickly walk through how you can get started with Astra DB. And then we'll get into the most interesting part of this workshop, is where we learn some quick tips and tricks about Astra DB, along with seeing how to build a TikTok clone. Last week, we've seen a Netflix clone. We also dropped a video where I've tried it, I've tested it, and it works. So go ahead and try it out. And of course, the end will be with some Q&A. If you have any questions throughout the whole workshop, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box or the chat. We'll pick them up as we go through the session. And all the recordings will be on YouTube for your reference on the AngelAct channel on YouTube. With that, we'll get started. What is Build a Modern Data App? This is a 3-day hackathon that is happening from September 3rd to 5th, where we want all of you guys to come up with ideas and build something that can become a potential unicorn in the future. And we are not joking when we say unicorn, because once the hackathon is done, we just don't support you with building it, but we'll also try and get you funding, get mentors so that you can make it an actual product and launch it. So the DataStax incubator program is starting from September 9th. And the only condition that we have for you guys is use Astra DB as part of your backend and nothing else. Build with whatever technologies you know already. You don't have to learn something new. Astra DB is very simple to get started with. And yes, that's the only condition. No specific theme, no rules other than having Astra DB as the core of your application. And how do you participate, right? If you are on the Zoom call today with us, you are already part of the Slack channel, I'm assuming. If you're not, please go ahead and join. And we have a bunch of prizes that you can take away with doing a few simple activities like introducing who you are, where you are from, and also signing up on Astra DB. That gets you on the leaderboard, and everybody who's on the leaderboard gets swag. Like, why not, right? So just make sure you sign up on Astra DB once you register. That's the only condition we have. And we have mentors from DataStax on the Slack channel and through all these workshops as well. So if you have any questions throughout the workshop or during any time from today to September 3rd or through September 5th, make sure you drop them in the Slack channel. And then we'll go to the prizes. There are a lot of prizes. The top 3 winners get $5,000, $3,000, and $2,000 each. The teams, and along with that, an auto placement into the incubator program that starts on September 9th. And with that, we also have Hackers Choice Award, where all the participants get to vote on their favorite projects, and we'll pick the winner from there and also give them $2,500 cash prize. Apart from that, we have a bunch of other prizes for referring your friends, being on the leaderboard, being the top 75 people on the leaderboard, and a lot more. So make sure you go check our website for all the prizes that you can earn by just participating in this hackathon. And quickly walking you through the schedule. Today we are at the 3rd workshop here on August 14th. We have 2 more workshops to go in this series. And after that, we'll do a team building and networking session where you can find potential teammates if you're still looking for teammates, or if you're solo hacking and if you want to join forces with somebody else that is participating in the hackathon. That session is the right session if you're not able to find a teammate through the next couple of weeks. Hackathon starts on September 3rd, and we have a bunch of events, mentor office hours, where you can have one-on-one conversations with the mentors and get your issues resolved. And after that, we move on to day 2, where again, we have mentor hours, speed networking, and we'll also teach you how to create a beautiful pitch that can help you win. So make sure you attend all these workshops through the hackathon, not just this one, right? And hackathon ends on September 5th, which essentially means that whatever you've built, you have to submit. And if some of your features don't work, don't worry, just make sure you submit, because submission is the key. you're spending a lot of time from your life for this hackathon. So make sure you submit at whatever stage your application is. And with that, we move on to our panelists today. We have Sean and Bala Subramaniam, shortly called Bala by his friends. Sean is the developer community's lead at DataStax, and Bala heads the tech for Center of Excellence at NIT, USA. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, gentlemen, to take this over for the next few minutes.
Thank you, Harish. Appreciate that. Before we move on, can we also introduce our third team member, Eric Ramirez? For those of you who have attended any of these things before, I like to compare Eric to a basically person who is everywhere at all times, because if you have ever asked any questions in any kind of open platform like Stack Overflow or anywhere, most likely you've spoken to or got spoken to by Eric. So Eric, welcome. How about you introduce yourself to the fine folks who are here with us today?
Thanks, Sean. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you join us for the workshop today. Glad that you're participating in our hackathon. So Eric Ramirez, I'm an Apache Cassandra enthusiast at DataStax. And as Sean already mentioned, I'm the guy that answers everyone's questions. So if you need help, that's what we're here to do.
All right, wonderful. So Bala, my friend, mentor, and colleague for many, many years, would you like to introduce yourself to the fine peoples who are here with us today?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Eric, Sean, and Harish Asta for this wonderful event. So yes, I mean, I work for NIT US and I head the competency for, NIIT across the globe. Yeah, so this is a great thing and I welcome all of you. Nothing better than to, have a hackathon to strengthen your skills, and we're glad to do what we're doing to help you on that journey. Thank you.
All right, and we have a secret guest who just joined us, and this is my clone, as you can see. Myself and Rags, we are brothers from another mother. We are exactly the same. So just because it's the same name, it doesn't mean that he's not valued. Rags, would you like to introduce yourself to the fine folks who are here with us today? You're muted, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Raghavan Srinivas, but I don't know why people have a tough time pronouncing my name. I just go by Rags. Basically, I'm a developer at heart, and I've done development for longer than I care to admit. Like I said, the first language I started off had 2 sevens in the name of the language. So I'll let you guess which one it is. I off late have been doing a lot more on the cloud native and the Kubernetes side. So glad to help you guys with the hackathon and do whatever it takes to provide you with resources. Like what Sean said, our goal is to up-level you. Wherever you are, there are a lot of resources. Feel free to tap into all of that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So finally, for myself, you already heard, I am Sean, aka Mr. Beige, because I don't like my name. But my job here at DataStax is basically to help developer communities, as Rag said, level up into the next phase. Now, does that mean marketing and sales? Absolutely not. But sometimes I have to promote something because it's cool and it will benefit you. One of those promotions is Astra DB. Now, Astra DB is basically Apache Cassandra as a service provided to you by DataStax, obviously, and that is the core foundational piece of this entire hackathon. Anything that you want to create, there is no limitation, as Harish already mentioned. The only rule is you have to use Astra DB, and you have to actually show us how you use Astra DB. Because if we can't verify that you actually use it, that would disqualify you, and we don't want anybody to get disqualified. So Astra DB in and of itself is one of the items that we're going to talk about today. Some of the other items are going to be the release of Cassandra 4.0 and some of those new features. We're also going to look at our sample apps gallery and our Tik-Tok clone. So let me start off by asking my colleague and friend Bala. Bala, could you give your impression of what Astra DB is and how you look at it in terms of, usage for developers in their journey?
Oh, absolutely, Sean. I think there's no doubt, like, most of us in this audience have been with Cassandra and DataStax for years now. And see, we've seen that development, using this as the backend has been really revolutionary. But one of the things that we've been sorely not having and wanting is the ease of talking to Cassandra, right? And the scaling of it, right? So a lot of operational things in the normal on-prem install, but with Astra DB, we kind of abstract away a lot of that, makes it easy. For example, Stargate, we talked about it last week too, right? One uniform interface, right, to talk to Cassandra, which is a great boon. I mean, I'm sure people who are writing code will realize the great advantage of using Stargate. And of course, the metric dashboards, another of my really cool things about Astra DB, right? The ability to visualize metrics without having to bring in any extraordinary effort into it, right? So these two stand out for me, and they've made my life easier because I use this database for virtually everything, right? And I'm sure whoever has had a taste of it will not go back to anything else. That much I'm sure of. And of course, the Shell and DataStax bulk loader are great tools, always been there, but it's become much more easier and good, right? So these are some of my initial thoughts on this, Sean.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. All right. So we talk about Astra DB like it's the end-all be-all solution to everything. I just want to be clear. It's still a database. It's Apache Cassandra as a service. We still need to put in some effort, but it should make our lives so much easier. And I'm going to use an example of somebody who's on the call here today, Mr. Harish. Last week, I showed everybody how quickly you could get started. I showed everybody how quickly you can start up your Netflix clone. Harish took it upon himself to actually, challenge the timeline, and to everybody's delight, including some breathing and, pausing for a moment to actually speak, he was able to complete the entire process in 15 minutes. So exactly as we promised. And the reason why we bring that up is because we're trying to give everybody the opportunity to have a frictionless experience. And this is where I want to pass the ball to Eric. So Eric, when you talk to people out in the field when they're using Astra DB versus when they used to do the local install, what are some of the things that you're seeing or what you're hearing from the developers about Astra DB?
The biggest thing that I love about Astra DB, and I think a lot of developers love, is the fact that in just a few clicks, literally just a few clicks, you can launch a Cassandra cluster. You don't need to bother about, having to figure out how to download it, how to install it, how to configure it. It's literally just doing a few clicks and you have access to a Cassandra cluster. You don't even need a credit card, and it's free forever. And you can just start using it, right? Literally in a couple of minutes. And you can and with Stargate, being able to use the REST API or the GraphQL API, and everyone's favorite, the Doc API, because everyone's used to working with JSON documents. Developers can just start coding on Cassandra as a backend, literally in minutes.
You know what? I think that's a good thing. Raz, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things, if I can add to that, is I'm a firm believer of multi-cloud. You don't even have to worry which cloud you want to put it in. It's all hidden behind the scenes. It's out there somewhere, which is really how it should be.
Exactly.
And like what Eric was saying, with the free tier, you can use it. I was looking at my dashboard, and even though I've used it quite a bit, it shows that I've consumed almost nothing, which is fine from my perspective. I don't know if the billing is broken or something, but I'm not gonna worry too much about that.
It's all good. Harish, could I borrow the screen for 1 second? Because I think this is a good little moment, a minor segue. All right. So what do we just hear from Eric? In minutes, right? I'm actually going to increase the pressure on us. I'm going to say normally getting started on Astra DB, you can get started in 5 clicks. I'm going to add 1 extra click because I want to do it the right way. So we're on our hackathon webpage, right? This is the 1 extra click. I'm going to scroll down to sign up for Astra. So this is click number 1. It brings us to the actual sign up page. Now, since I'm a lazy person, I'm not going to type out all my details. I'm just going to log in with Google, click number 2. Okay. So now that's 2 clicks I've done, and I'm already inside of Astra DB. It's that simple. Here's going to be my 3rd click. I'm going to actually create a database. Now, unfortunately, I do have to type some here. Tik-Tok underscore angel hack underscore DB. Okay, that's going to be the name of my database and my key space. Now, from there, of course, this is going to be a couple more clicks because I'm showing everybody what the options are. You have Google Cloud available. We have multiple regions that you can use. AWS, same thing, multiple regions, and Microsoft Azure, also multiple regions. Now, DataStax is adding more and more regions every couple of months. So if you don't see a region that you like, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help you out and look at a timeline of availability. But just for good measure, I'm going to go with Google Cloud, Asia Pacific, Mumbai, India, because Mumbai is awesome. So here comes click number 4, create the database. All right, so as we can see, it's now pending, right? So it's starting up. Let's see how quickly this starts up. So while we're waiting for that to start up, I'm going to stop sharing, and Harish, please continue with the slide deck, because this is how easy it is to get started with Astra DB. This is what Rags, Eric, and Bala were talking about. We can make it so simple. Now, as we're waiting for everything to start up, it takes about 2 to 5 minutes, depending, right? Depending. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, depending on the region and the availability and stuff like that. But once you have your database started up, the next thing is we need to build something. So the question often is, what am I supposed to build? And this is where our sample apps gallery comes into play, because we have a lot of opportunities for you to just get started with some simple things. We have some beginner apps and we have some advanced apps. Today is going to be the Tik-Tok clone, which is going to be one of our advanced apps. So when we want to look at all of these things, every one of these sample apps has a drop-down menu that you could get to the GitHub landing page, and you don't even need to be logged in, right? So for once, if you access these GitHub repos, you don't get the Star Wars reference, like this is not the page you're looking for. So it actually gives everything open to everybody. Now, that said, there is, of course, a little bit more to it than that, because we are going to need to have some kind of code understanding. Okay. If you don't know how to do coding, this is a perfect opportunity to link up with some other people in the I'm looking for a team channel, because there's a lot of people who do know coding. So let's say you're a front end developer, but you need some back end help. Or let's say you're a back end developer, you need some front end help or some UX help. This is the perfect opportunity to team up. Now, Harish, could I take back over again? Because now that we've actually had our sample apps going, I want to show everybody we are now live. Right. So remember, we've done 4 clicks, 1 special one directly from the website. Here comes clicks 5 and 6. OK, so the next thing that you want to do is connect to your database. Connecting to your database can be done through a multitude of ways. Most prominent are going to be the APIs that we have. And that was the Stargate API gateway that we talked about earlier. The 3 APIs that we want to promote is Document, GraphQL, and REST API. Those are the most common ones. We also have some drivers. You can use an SDK, or you can use some extra tools if you so wish. Now, I'm not going to actually connect because, that will take too long, but I want to show everybody this 4th little tab here, the Cql Console, because you don't have to actually set up any kind of CLI from your laptop or from your computer if you don't want to. You can directly access everything in here directly from the dashboard. So you can even see that the key space that we created earlier, the Tik-Tok Angel Hack DB, is right there. So I could use it if I so wish. So that's click number 5. And then the final click for you to be able to use your Astra DB is going to be load the data. Now, from here, you can load whatever data it is that you want, and you now are up, running, and active. But let's circle back a little bit. Before we do that, we actually need to look at the Tik-Tok clone sample app. Now, Rags, Eric, Bala, please feel free to jump in with any insights that you have from your experiences, because I know that you both, or all 3 of you, have a lot of extra experiences. I'm just going to click on the view in GitHub, which opens a new tab for us. And as you can see here, we provide you with everything. Last week, we talked about a 10-minute Netflix startup. TikTok, a little bit more advanced, right? So it's going to take about an hour. It says 50 minutes, but that's if everything goes perfectly. If anybody in the chat is like me, perfect does not exist. You're going to, I like to call this fat finger it because my hands are quite large. I do that all the time and make typos. The cool part about this is, Bala actually sent me a message last night, and it made me realize that, Bala, you and I are very seasoned, because I remember TikTok as the game too. This TikTok clone is not the actual TikTok game. This is the modern app that everybody loves to share videos on.
Was it TikTok or was it Tic-Tac?
It's Tic-Tac.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay.
So it's sometimes called Tic-Tac, but you and I may know it as Tic-Tac. Yeah,
exactly.
See, it just shows my age. I didn't even remember that part. So the TikTok, not the Tic-Tac clone, right? Basically what we're going to teach you is how to get something started, how to do it. Oh, it's banned in India? Well, then this is even more applicable to you. Since it's banned by the government, how about you just build your own? You don't have to worry about any bans. As long as you're not trying to monetize it, I think you'll be okay. So for this particular workshop, for this particular sample app, there's a couple of extra pieces that we're going to bring into it. First of all, it's a React app, and we're going to use the document API for this TikTok clone. Now, for those of you who do not possess React skills, you can actually build it with other languages if you wish. The reason why we chose React is because of the performance. It kind of just worked together. It kind of fit together really, really well. Now we have the actual instructions here in the README, but if you want to watch a video rather than reading everything, we have a partner and friend of DataStax called Anya Kubau. She did the first iteration of Create Your Own TikTok Clone. Our developer advocates actually created a second one, so we have videos available for you. We'll talk about that in a minute. And we have the video content broken down into these timestamps. Now, why is that? What if you already know some of the steps, you just want to jump into something specifically? Now you can do it. Great question in the chat. I would defer to Eric for this because I think Eric is the one to answer this perfectly. What is the difference between document API and REST API?
So if you're a developer, you'd be very familiar with REST APIs. And in fact, the flavor of the month is GraphQL, right? So it's just a different method of accessing, the endpoints. Document API specifically if you're doing JSON documents. So, for example, there's a lot of developers who are used to, storing data in Mongodb. That's a document database, which, you store JSON documents in the database. So if you want to store JSON documents, then you would use the Doc API.
Wonderful. And Rags, may I lean on your expertise? Do you have some insight as to why for this particular app, the document API would be more beneficial than the REST API?
I think you have, when you have like multiple pieces of data, right? So in this case, you have video and other content also, right? Then it makes sense to have something along those lines, like a document API, right? Or a document. But again, use whatever works for you, because we have, these different ways of kind of looking at the data, differently, right? If you have a piece of data which is pretty nested, then you might think of graph and so on. So there are, that's kind of how you would approach this problem.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And there was a question in the Q&A again. Does Astra DB provide a Node.js library for communications like Mongoose or MongoDB? We don't provide a library per se. We provide you with different opportunities to connect because we do support Node.js, and we do have a lot of sample apps that actually leverage Node.js for you. So while we don't provide you with a library as such, we do provide you with the opportunity and multiple examples to use Node.js in your development journey. All right. So mention Anya Kubau, our friend who has done this TikTok clone before. She has some connections if you wish. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. If anybody here is going to connect or subscribe to her content, please give her a shout out on behalf of the hackathon because she's wonderful. The next steps that we want to do. So we talked about all of the basics of the TikTok clone, right? We now are going to look at deployment. Deployment is a little bit of a meticulous process. The reason why I say that is because we want to follow certain steps in a certain order to make our lives easier down the line. Well, first of all, obviously we have to register, right? We want to get our own account. Multiple mentions have been made to the free tier. As everybody can see, this dashboard is actually outdated. If I go to the current dashboard, it's a little bit more modern. We updated with quite a bit of stuff, as you can see here. Everybody has a free tier, as Rags had mentioned. Technically, we don't call it a free tier anymore. We call it a credit, right? Everybody gets $25 a month of credit for usage in Astra DB. Now, what does $25 a month mean? Because it doesn't sound like a lot. I'm going to reference Rags' comment again. It equals to about 4 million reads, about 1.5 million writes, and give or take 40 gigabytes of data. So if you are doing a lot with it, like Rags indicated, you still probably won't even use your full credit tier that you have available to you. So it's actually really cool. Now, that said,
unless you're running like a semi-production load,
exactly,
it's quite difficult to blow the 25 limit. So you can keep coding to your heart's content.
Exactly. The other piece is you can actually create multiple databases as well if you wish. All of those databases would share that same $25 credit. Okay, so that $25 credit is to your account, not to your individual databases. So that was important to do. And some other features, I got a question earlier this week about streaming, right? You can see here, we have streaming in beta, so feel free to use that. We leverage Pulsar for this, and you could even go serverless if you wish. Now, we're not going to dive into serverless too much because that would take too long to explain. We want to keep things simple and make sure that they are valuable. So back to our TikTok clone. So as you can see, we already went through the first couple of steps of creating our database. We selected our plan, right? We did all of these steps and we were launched. Now, this piece is the old dashboard. The newer dashboard has been updated. So just take that with a grain of salt. Step 6 is where it actually becomes important, okay? So since we're creating a TikTok clone, we need to make sure that after it's been generated, right, that we generate an application token for the actual app. So we have to go into our settings tab and then, go into the home screen, select the role, generate the token. Now I can show you here how to do that, but the point what we're trying to make is when we go into these settings, everybody has access to everything all the time, okay? Your application token, your organization settings, as stated, select your role, multiple different roles. Now, the reason why I didn't want to do too much with this is because, as you can see, a whole bunch of different roles are available to you. And if we go over each one of these, it'll take too long. This is why the TikTok clone takes a little bit longer than the Netflix clone. Now, that said, after we've created the authorization token, we can actually download the CSV so that we can use these credentials later and actually set up a CLI from our home computer directly to Astra and also allow our app to actively connect to Astra as well. Now, step 8, we can see that we're actually going to use the application token, right? We're going to replace in the document API, we're going to replace the Astra DB ID with our individual token ID. Now, previously, when we did this, this is before we were experiencing this, we accidentally kept leaving these application tokens visible for everyone, and people started using those application tokens for themselves, causing some of our sample databases to run up their credit really quickly because all of a sudden we had like 8 or 9 different applications running on one database. So this is why it's been blurred out, just as a little bit. Now, from the GitHub repository, use the template. We can go through everything, right? We can go through public, private, whatever we prefer. We want to include all branches. We want to clone this repository. This is crucial. Please clone the repository so you have your own variation. From there, we can now get started. So the reason why we're going through this in this manner instead of actually doing the code is because if we're going to do the code, we kind of get into a real deep dive of how to do it, what kind of code, React, right? Why React, stuff like that. So we just wanted to guide everybody through these steps. Now with this, and this is the best part, you can now start creating your own Netflix clone. Now you run it from your local machine. You can even run it in the cloud if you have an app hosting opportunity somewhere. That is all your own choice. Now I'm going to ask our three guest panelists if they have any input, insights, or simple tips and tricks as we have gone through these initial getting started steps. I'll start with Bala. Do you have any memorable shares for the community at large?
No, I just have one regarding this sample apps. I do believe that all of you who are participating in the hackathon must deploy, and I use the word must consciously, 1 or 2 apps, right, as per the instructions given here, right? See, sometimes instructions may have to be just, you just have to do it and then go to the end and then take a step back and then analyze, why you've done some of these steps, right? Because these are all essentially, as Sean mentioned, pretty complex apps, right? We've kind of made it look very easy and simple, and that's credit to the guys who put this together, right? A lot of complexity is condensed, when they put these steps with all the screenshots. So, as Sean takes you through it, that's how at least 1 or 2 apps, right? And then you'll be ready to do your own app when it comes to it. That'll be my short piece of advice, Sean.
Yeah, I like that very much. And that brings us back to the sample app gallery. This is why we have multiple apps available, multiple different kind of apps available. Eric, how about you? Do you have some tips, tricks, insights for our guests?
Yeah, so 3 things. So the first thing I was going to point out is the fact that there's no credit card required at all. I know we've talked about like the $25 credits, but the thing that I keep getting asked all the time is, it's prompting me for a credit card. It doesn't. So see where you see the add payment there? Don't need that, right? So on the free tier, it's free and it's free forever. No credit card required. The second thing that we were talking about is with the Tik-Tok, well, you can run it locally, but if I would recommend this personally is to use a cloud-based IDE, the likes of gitpod.io, because then you're not stuck trying to troubleshoot stuff on your Windows laptop. Whereas with Gitpod, everything's configured correctly. And then the third and final thing is that if you want to find out, just in a short, quick tutorial, for example, you want to try out the REST API or the Doc API, datastax.com/dev is a very, very good resource. We have like free hands-on tutorials on that site. So it's just datastax.com/dev. And if you scroll down on that page about 2/3 of the way down, it features Stargate API. And there's 3 different hands-on tutorials. These are all free. So the one there on the left that Sean's showing right now is the REST. This is now the document API. And this explains to you in a bit, gives you the basics of what a document API is and how you would use it in your application. And then further down, there's a live hands-on interactive tutorial. There's nothing for you to install. So as you can see there, what Sean's doing, everything runs in the browser. And you can just go through the tutorial, lasts for like 10 or 12 minutes, and it's free. And it gives you all the basics, and then you can easily understand all the stuff that we're talking about here.
I love it. Yeah, I love the fact that we can actually say all of this is free. If you want to learn, it's free. You want to work with Astra DB, it's free. You want to build something fun for yourself, it's free. I love saying free because since I moved to the United States, one of the things that I learned from my wife, if it's free, it's for me. That's my life slogan since I moved here. Love it. Thank you so much, Eric, for that insight. That was absolutely wonderful. And then Rags, I would like to ask you a question about your experience with Astra DB. As you mentioned earlier, you've been working quite extensively with it, and you're barely using your max limit for the month. Do you have some experience stories to share with the audience that we have here today? You're muted, sir. Still muted.
Zoom 101. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was typing away, so I didn't want everybody to, hear that. But essentially, I think I concur. What Eric said is, rather, I have a Mac, and I'm kind of a command line kind of guy. So I use GitHub, on the command line and so on. But no need to fight with it. If you're on Windows or something, just bring up like a network-based IDE like Gitpod or something. Makes life a lot easier. Having said that, there are still some edge cases that we don't take care of well. Like for example, I have accounts pretty much everywhere, and the way we've set up is you have like no Netlify account, and we're going to go create one for you, and so on, right? So if you already have a Netlify account, things might work a little differently. Okay, so you may have to log in there, you may have to do some stuff a little bit differently. So feel free to reach out, if you're running into some of the edge cases. But I think what Bala said and Eric said, start with some simple ones. I mean, this one is not, I would say terribly complex, but at the same time, there are some cases where it might benefit if you've never played with Cassandra, or you're kind of not used to the ecosystem, to kind of play with some of the other simple samples, kind of get used to the SQL shell, and kind of play around with those commands. That'll definitely help you a lot.
Love it.
I agree. Yep.
Love it. Thank you so much. Cool. So just to summarize what we just went through, right? We saw how quickly we can start up an Astra DB. We saw how easy it is to get some sample apps to give us some experience. Eric had guided us to a location where we can actually do some hands-on learning and testing without affecting anything of our database, right? DataStax.com/dev. And we got some really good tips and tricks from Bala and Rags about how to use it, why to use it, and what some of the items is that everybody acknowledges, right? It would be good to investigate Gitpod. It would be good to have Netlify account. These are all things that are going to make your life easy. Why? Because we're trying to give you all the tools to be successful. As mentioned before by Harish, this hackathon is different than most hackathons. This hackathon is not just for you to win a one-off situation. This hackathon has the potential to change your life. Now, what do I mean by that? The incubator program that we're actually going to be launching, and this is going to be a little bit of a plug for our August 27th event, our workshop. We are going to have a guest from our partner, 1 Million by 1 Million, Shramana Mitra, who is named the number 2 influencer on LinkedIn. She is going to be here with us to explain what the program is, how to get involved, how you can qualify, and answer some Q&A about what it actually means. In short, the incubator program is the accelerator from app to startup, right? That's the whole crucial part. You have an idea right now, but I guarantee you 99% of the world's ideas do not get funding because they're not mature enough to actually be ready for funding. So that's what that incubator program is. It's the method as to which you can develop your application, mature it, and make it ready for a presentation. For anybody who's ever watched the BBC version of the investment programs called Shark Tank, no, sorry, it's called Dragon's Den. The USA version is called Shark Tank, and there are many more versions around the world. Consider the incubator program a prep for you to be able to go in front of people who have money, show them your idea, and obtain funding so that you can literally become a startup. Now, the method as to which this works, we're going to explain that on the 27th, but just a short introduction for everybody. You can earn a scholarship, which is going to be a cash stipend for you to develop your idea into something more. Plus, you get 1 year free usage of Astra DB, no limits. All right. So that's just a couple little plugs for the August 27th that we're going to be discussing all of this stuff with Srimana Mitra from 1 million by 1 million. And I can tell everybody who's here, she's absolutely phenomenal. She is extremely smart. She is very enthusiastic and it's very infectious. So I would recommend everybody to be there and to ask as many questions as you might have. I know some of you are young, but here's the thing. Young people are not excluded from this. If you have an idea that is valid, then why not? You know how many young people move on to become CEOs as they develop their product? It happens all the time. Don't put any kind of limitation on yourself because of your age, because of your location, or because of your anything. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are, how you identify, what gender you identify as, what religion you have, what your favorite foods is, doesn't matter. A good idea is a good idea, and we welcome everyone. All are welcome here. All right, cool. Now, I know I've taken up a lot of time with my spiel and my little pitch, but I wanted to make sure that we give everybody the confidence that no matter what happens, you are welcome here and you have an equal opportunity to do something. It's all about maturing the idea. Okay, little segue before we move back to Harish because he's got some more information to share with us. We had a lot of questions externally from a lot of people like, hey, Cassandra 4.0 just dropped. What does that mean for us? Now, here's the cool part. Cassandra 4.0 has been 5 years in the making. Eric, did I say that right? 5 years, right?
6.
6 years in the making.
Exactly.
6 years. It's been longer in development than I've been in the United States, just to, put some perspective on that. It's been insanely long, but we're finally here. The great part about why we're finally here is because all of the major players in the world decided to just be like, you know what? It's time to, roll up our sleeves, get to work, and get it done. So thank you to all the contributors and all the companies who helped make this happen. Now, some of the main features that we wanted to talk about that are new in Cassandra 4.0, there's a lot more to it. As you can see here, there is a ton of information. And this is literally just our Apache Cassandra website. It is not a DataStax or other company's website. This is directly from Apache themselves. And some of the main features that we want to talk about are listed here. So Java 11 finally is supported, which is amazing. There's now the option for streaming. Obviously, we talked about that already. Astra DB leverages Pulsar. There are other options available as well, but I would say figure it out for which one you need for your use case. And some of the other features that have been around for a while in enterprise versions of Apache Cassandra, like audit logging, full query logging, messaging. These are things that are now finally in open source, which is amazing. Now I want to talk about two specific things, virtual tables and transient replication. So transient replication is actually an experimental feature that's designed specifically for Cassandra users who want to validate every aspect of the database, right? For those of you who are familiar with the way Cassandra worked, there was no validation. It was just a, set and forget, or, a write first database. We don't confirm, we don't validate. You just have to trust that it would work. Now, there are use cases out there where validation is extremely necessary to make sure that you pass your test. So the objective of transient replication was to decouple storage requirements from data redundancy, right? So that you could have incremental repair, or what I call using incremental repair, in order so that you could reduce your storage overhead, because one of the features of Cassandra is duplicate data. So storage was always going to be a critical item. Now, that said, the world has evolved since the previous iteration of Cassandra. Storage is not as expensive as it used to be. However, with the move to the cloud, storage can run up your bill quite fast if you don't watch how you build it. So that's transient replication in a nutshell. And then the virtual tables aspect is the other feature that I wanted to talk about, because I actually like this a lot. It's basically tables that are backed by an API instead of data explicitly managed and stored in SS tables. Now, if you want to know more about these virtual tables, how you can use it and stuff like that, I would say definitely do a deep dive. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because there's a feature in here that, Bala, you'll be able to confirm this. For years, we've been telling people avoid it like the plague, and that is allow filtering. Virtual tables, however, actually make the use of allow filtering quite useful in some fringe use cases. Don't use allow filtering for everything. Trust me, for those of you who are considering using allow filtering, please don't, because otherwise I will see you Monday morning at the unemployment office. So try to avoid it at all costs. However, with Cassandra 4.0, you have valid use cases if you're using virtual tables. Crucial, virtual tables only. Okay, Eric, do you have any additions to the features that I just
I was going to say, right, so you've talked about some really low-level database-related stuff here, and don't be scared. For all of those of you who are new to Cassandra, don't be scared, because guess what? You never have to worry about any of this stuff, any of it, when it comes to using Astra. And that's why the Fortune 500 companies choose to deploy their applications on Astra. You know why? Because they don't need Cassandra experts working at their organization. You don't, so you don't have to worry about this stuff.
Yes, that's probably the strongest argument we could make today, that the reason why Astra is meant to be frictionless is because you don't have the ops, you don't have the configuration that you used to have for local install. You can avoid all of that quite easily. All right, so that will be it for my demo. I'm going to hand it back to Harish, because we have a couple little pieces of information to go through before we go to our Q&A. So Harish, please, if you will, take back control. Okay, there we go. I mentioned earlier for everybody here that we have lots and lots of tutorials available for you. Eric was very astute in sharing datastax.com/dev, D-E-V, for some hands-on tutorials. But we also have a developer advocate group, and they have their own YouTube channel. Some of you who are here today have actually already participated in some of those workshops, which is awesome. Glad to see some of your names here as well. But we also have a couple of different features that we wanted to call out. One, we can do actual learning series, which is multiple videos that you can see full 8-part Apache Cassandra course. Or if you just want to get an introduction to what Apache Cassandra is, we also have just the one video as well. Both of them are free. All of them are free, actually. My recommendation is go check it out, subscribe, and join Discord. Why? Because they give away free stuff all the time. Free certification vouchers, right? Free knowledge, free swag, competitions, a community that is just wonderful to be a part of. So I would say go there, sign up, get your free stuff, because what did we learn today? What was the main takeaway? If it's free, it's for me. That's how I roll. And that's what I recommend to everybody else to do as well. Next slide, please. So, all of that said, do we have any questions? I see we have a great question. I'm actually going to open that up to our guest panelists. Jesse asked, how can I merge the code with the database? Eric, Rags, either of you would like to take that?
I'm looking through it. I don't quite see the question.
Oh, so it's in the Q&A section. So it's not in the chat, it's in the Q&A.
Gotcha.
Let me just read it out for you. It says, how can I merge the code with the database?
Yeah, I need a little bit more. I don't quite follow what that means.
Okay, so Jesse's basically asking the code, once he has code for an app, how does he actually deploy it to Astra DB?
So there are a number of different ways of interacting with the database. I'm not going to say merge the code with the database, because if you think about programming, right? In the famous words of Nicholas Wirth, programs plus data, right? So programs are separate and data is separate. So if you want to access your database, then essentially you can deploy your application in a number of different ways, to access the database, right? What we show here is we deploy to what is called as Netlify, which has a continuous CI/CD cycle and so on. Or you can just, access it through your CLI console, so there are a number of different ways of doing that. I don't know if I answered your question, but once you have your code up and running, then essentially what you're going to do is you're going to get an endpoint for the database. You're going to use the endpoint in your whatever language that is, whether you're using Java, Node.js, whatever. And then you're going to walk through the tables, the schema, and so on, and get the data.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. And I can automate the CRUD operations using Python, like what Arnav was saying.
I like that. Thank you so much, Greg.
I think the question has to be rephrased. There's nothing called merging code with the database.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that has to be very clear because it is a different connotation. Merging means you're kind of bringing data and programs, and as Rags wonderfully explained, they're two different things. So you talk to a database, you execute queries on a database, you work on the data, but your programs are essentially apart from the database. Yeah.
Nice. And Jesse, final tip, if you want to play around the datastax.com/dev page that we learned about earlier, there's multiple different learning paths that take 5 to 10 minutes each, where you can actively do stuff and try stuff. And it will actually help you with some code samples so that you can really get some experience in how to do that there. Cool. All right. We have a question from Avinash. I apologize if I butchered your name. I'm really trying to say it properly, so please feel free to chastise me in the chat if I said it wrong. The question is, if I'm using the Stargate REST API, can I know the schema being used and modify that if necessary? Does one of our panelists want to jump on that question?
Yeah, so you define the schema yourself, so you can learn how to do that. Again, go to datastax.com/dev. and do the REST API tutorial.
Yes. So I know that's a very simple. Thank you, Avinash. I'm very proud that I said it right the first time. So that, I know it sounds like we keep diverting you, but the reason why we keep indicating try those things is because you get hands-on experience, and it only takes 5 to 10 minutes of your day. That's it. You could do that on your, I apologize for the crashness. You could do that on your bathroom break. You could take a bathroom break and take your laptop with you if you wanted to, if you need to get away from your environment for a couple of minutes. If you have like roommates that are annoying and playing video games, just, do something like that. So definitely feel free to do that. The reason why I use that crass example is because it's all about the experience, right? Simple. You can do it anywhere from anything, any platform. You can do it on your tablet. I even did it on my phone, even though it sucked because trying to do code on your phone takes forever. Right? Even the best phones out there, you're still doing this. So it takes forever, but you could do it. All right.
Go ahead. No developer will ever admit that they do it on the phone. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. I'm just saying it's a possibility because a friend of mine, he is all about his phone. Everything is about his phone. And he actually turned his phone into a node on his Cassandra deployment, where this is way back before Astra DB, and he would use his phone to do anything and everything. He would make sure that it was always with himself. All right, we have one more question in the Q&A before we run out of time, because I want to make sure that Harish has a couple of minutes to close out before we leave you all for the day. And that's Arnav. Can I automate the whole CRUD options using Python? Does anybody have any insights to that? Because my answer would be yes.
Yep, I think so. I mean, I don't know. We need more context on that question, but the essential answer is yes. Yep.
Exactly. So that's why I was saying.
I think the question is about, do you need to write the APIs? The answer is no, because that's what the Stargate data platform is for.
Exactly.
You have access to the REST API. GraphQL API and the Doc API. So if you do the tutorials on datastax.com/dev, you'll actually see that, for example, to write to the database, you just need to get the endpoint, and you just need to send a put request to the one of the endpoints that we have, and that's it. It's as simple as that to write to the database.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think one of the nice things that REST, and this is not something that DataStax came up with, it's something that the community came up with, is it made program-to-program interaction as easy as it made user interaction with the web, right? The browser. If you think about the browser, right? HTTP, HTML made it a lot easier for users to interact with just about anything, whatever application it is, right? So what REST does is kind of very similar, and if you, but it's really more on a program-to-program level. So it doesn't really matter what language, Java, Python, or whatever. At the very minimum, you can use those REST APIs, and that's exactly what Stargate kind of acts.
Wonderful. All right. I would like to say thank you to Bala, Eric, and Rags for joining us today as guest panelists. I'd like to say thank you for everybody who's joined us here today. I'm going to hand it back over to Harish to close out our meeting. For anybody who has questions or would like to have a more in-depth discussion about any features of Astra DB or anything that we talked about today, we have multiple coaches and mentors available in the Slack channel. So please join the Slack channels, ask away, and we will be there to help you. We have people from every area of the globe. So there's always going to be somebody around to be able to help with anything. All right, Harish, back to you, sir.
Amazing. Once again, thank you to all the panelists who made it today. We'll see you soon again next week. Yep. But before that, now that you have signed up with the hackathon, what are the next steps? I think the first step is obviously to sign up on Astra DB. If you haven't yet, please do it. And if you don't see your name on the leaderboard, as we've noticed that there are some issues, please give us some time. Leaderboard gets updated every Monday. We'll make sure your name is there and you get your points on the leaderboard. Apart from that, if you want quick updates on what is happening when the next session is for the hackathon, make sure you join the Telegram group where we will keep posting updates about everything that we do, every activity that we do. And of course, apart from all the resources that have been shared in the chat today, we also have buildamoderndataapp.com/resources where there are more apart from whatever has been shared already. And yes, we have a pre-hackathon webinar coming up on 27. Make sure you attend that. Sign up link is going to be shared with you in Slack and not on the website because that is only for the participants. And upon completion of step 2 and 4, which is obviously signing up for the Slack channel hackathon and Astra DB, you will make it to the leaderboard. And the top 75 on the leaderboard get a chance to get exclusive swag, which is not available for everybody or the organizers. We don't get swag, guys, so make sure you make the best use of it. And now, how do you find a team? If you don't have a team, if you're hacking solo, or if you have slots open for people to join your team, how do you do it? Go to free agents directory that is in the participants guide and make sure you see what are the other profiles of people that are looking for a team or looking to add people to their team, and make sure you reach out to them on Slack. Just send them a DM. If you don't know how to do that, just ask me. I'll make an introduction to you with them and you can talk to them. And if you have slots empty in your team, please make it open for others and let them join and collaborate with others from across the globe. And that's the best part about hackathons, and especially virtual hackathons where you don't have the physical interaction. So make sure you have people from other countries as well, if you can make space for them. Apart from that, everything is in the participants guide. Make sure you go there. And how do you find the participants guide? Let me just quickly pull my Slack here. I hope I don't share anything controversial. Please bear with me on that. Okay, that is my personal Slack channel. Hold on, guys. Just going to quickly pull the DataStax Slack channel and show you how to find all of these that I've just mentioned. All right, if you go to the general channel, I believe you're able to see my screen here. If
we
you
don't
go
see
to
Slack, we're just seeing your presentation.
Yeah.
So you didn't share anything bad yet.
Oh my God, thank God. Perfect.
Not yet, Harish.
Yeah. Make sure you turn off your SpongeBob SquarePants cartoon. I have to before I got on.
All right. So how do you find all of these resources? Very simple. Everything is right here under the channel name. And whenever we launch a new video or post a new video on YouTube, it'll be added here. With that, we come to the end of this workshop. Thank you so much to all the panelists once again for joining us. We will see you next Saturday, same time. And in case we change the time, we'll let you know on Slack and email. With that, thank you for joining, everybody. Have a great weekend ahead. Thanks, Rags, Eric, Sean, and Bala, and Asta. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Harish.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.